Goldman, Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM, WMAL.
We are joined on the phone now by Larry Kudlow, our good friend of this broadcast. Larry, we always like to talk to you about things financial, and after watching the debate last night, one of the issues that came up had to do with the personal finances of Mitt Romney and why he won't release his tax return. Now, I can't imagine that a guy that is as careful and meticulous as Mitt Romney's got anything to hide, so why won't he release it? What is it he didn't want America to see about this tax return?
Well, did he say he wouldn't release it?
No, he said he eventually will, but he's not going to do it until he's good and ready to do so.
Hinted April as a
April
time
maybe
frame.
is a time.
Yeah, well, of course, I can explain that. I mean, he probably wants to wait until he files. I mean, April's the filing date, and that's probably he wants to do it once and one time only. I'm going to sort of defend him on that. He's already released his balance sheet, his assets, his wealth statement.
So it's not about showing that he's very rich.
We know that.
I know.
I mean, he probably hasn't gotten it together yet, and probably waiting until he himself files for the April deadline. I just, look at that as one of these cheap shot things. I don't really see him. He knows he's got to do this. He's done it before. He'll do it again. I think we're all looking for too much here.
Yeah.
I think my issue is just with the stumbly-bumbly answer.
Yeah.
Just say, I'll see you in April.
He was I thought he was a little off his game last night in terms of delivery. I don't think it was his best delivery, but, there's a whole bunch of things that came out last night. One of them, by the way, maybe this is just my issue because I'm a supply-sider, but he said that the top tax rate shouldn't be any higher than 25%. And I think that's good progress because so far he's held to the Bush tax rate of 35%. Mm-hmm. So if he's saying the top rate shouldn't be 25%, that kind of confirms what I heard in the earlier debate, that he's going to have another tax reform plan. We have not seen the last in the Romney tax reform. And Tim Pawlenty told me election night in New Hampshire when we were in Manchester. I interviewed Pawlenty, who's a close Romney advisor. He said that there is going to be a kind of second tax reform package coming up during the campaign, what he called Phase 2. So I kind of like that. Romney's getting down towards the flatter tax area. That's okay.
Okay, so he's getting pushed to the right on that aspect.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want you to have to endorse anybody. I'm just curious. Do any of these guys get you excited? Or are you just excited about not having Barack Obama as the president in, a couple of months?
Well, I'm a reporter. I mean, I have to try to be
No, I completely understand.
reasonably fair on this. Obviously, I'm a Reagan supply side guy, so you know where my heart lies. Does he get me excited? I think sometimes they do. Sometimes Romney gets me excited. I love it when he starts slamming away at free enterprise and economic freedom, and we're not going to have an entitlement state like Europe. I think that's a very good message. That's one he's been carrying in recent weeks. I thought Newt Gingrich did a good job last night talking about work, the value of work, and why we should have incentives to work and not work. I think that's very powerful. That line about 99 weeks, that's a half of an associate's degree. Half of that is an associate's degree. That's pretty good stuff. I wasn't really thrilled with Santorum last night in the sense that he tried to call personal savings accounts for Social Security entitlements. Those aren't entitlements. That would be reform and restructuring, and it would allow people to own their own accounts and take responsibility for their saving, and, by the way, probably have a better saving performance than they're going to get in Social Security. I do acknowledge, however, Santorum's accounting question, that if you move to personal accounts, you are going to ring up the budget deficit. That is true. And Newt's plan doesn't really deal with that. In fact, so far as I know, Newt's whole flat tax apparatus, that plan has not been priced out in terms of deficit terms, and somebody's going to have to do that at some point.
Larry, when I look at the last two sort of major fights the Obama administration has fought, one on the payroll tax cut, in which he was in favor of the tax cut, and this most recent announcement about streamlining some agencies, it seems to me that due to a Republican inability to get a message together, he sounds like, even if it's not true, he sounds like the small government tax cutter. Is he outmaneuvering them, and how do they fix it?
Well, that's an interesting point because I thought the GOP... I mean, I hate the temporary payroll tax cuts.
Right.
They have no economic growth impact whatsoever, and there's no incentive effect. Nothing temporary has an incentive effect. So does Obama get, his polls don't suggest he got much of a bump off of that. So I'm going to let that one aside. I mean, we need full-scale, big bang tax reform, if you ask me, if you want to grow the economy, and that's very important. So that's point number one. In terms of the restructuring, the reorganization, it's small potatoes in numbers, but it is a step in the right direction. I mean,
right.
My thought is we need a Bain and capital reform plan to downsize Uncle Sam. I wrote this column. We need a baneful solution to that company called U.S. Government Inc., which is going under. And a lot of that's going to be slimming down, cutting back. Yes, there are going to be layoffs. And yes, there's going to be reorganization. So in one small sense, Obama has stolen a management consultant's idea of downsizing the government. Now, it's only $3 billion over 10 years, so it's nothing compared to the budget problem that is running about $1.5 trillion a year. But nonetheless, in a small way. But I don't know. Do you really believe that's how he's going to run, or do you believe he's going to run against rich people? I mean, it seems to me everything, the firing of Bill Daley or the pushing out of Bill Daley, suggests to me that Obama's message is still going to be the 1% versus the 99%. And that's why last night I was in to see that Newt Gingrich completely backed off. In fact, Perry did too. They really didn't take Bain. They really didn't take Mitt Romney on, did they? They kind of all sidestepped it and didn't want to go there because conservatives like me have been beating up on him. I didn't hear anything on that. But Obama's going to try that, isn't he?
Yep,
even though his chief of staff is a private equity person.
I know, right. It's Citibank, too.
Right? Both his chief of staff and his deputy chief of staff come from the private equity world.
Right.
About that. Tee-hee-hee, that's nothing.
Yeah.
You hard-bitten announcers from Washington, doesn't that mean something? That his whole crowd is private equity? How's Obama going to defend that?
I know we were just talking about it because they just announced this morning, apparently, when he accepts the nomination in Charlotte later this year, it's going to be at Bank of America Stadium.
In a non-union town.
Yeah, right.
There you go. So he's going to, I'm not saying Obama's going to get that message across or whether it's going to work. I still think that's his main plus. But I'm okay with this reorganization as much as I know about it.
Larry Kudlow, always good to have you.
Thanks, Larry.